Hi everyone. Welcome to the Saturn Retrograde astrological video. If you would like to read the astrological notes, they have been uploaded to the Playful platform of Patreon on the Memory Astrologer side. Please remember to join the Playful platform of Patreon and come on over and join the Memory Astrologer side to prepare for this message. Please remember to do your 3 deep cleansing breaths in from your nose and slowly out your mouth. To be open, to be aware, and to be ready for this astrological video. Hi and welcome. I am the Memory Astrologer. I just want to let you all know that there are people moving in this building, so there are people constantly going in and constantly going out the doors, and there are a lot of things going on the street, so you will hear a lot of commotion, maybe trucks, maybe people slamming doors. So I just wanted you all to be aware of that before we hop into the astrological reading. So as usual, I have printed out the chart, and I've also delineated where Saturn is in the chart, and I also have some notes on the side of the paper. So I just wanted to forewarn you all. So this reading is for the astrological event of Saturn going retrograde. And today, June 5th, 2022, Saturn stations retrograde. So you're like, where is Saturn at? And I've already delineated with a permanent marker where Saturn is. But first things first, I just wanted to give some overall information regarding the chart. So for this Saturn retrograde video, I am calling it, and yes, I have my notes written down, the Watchtower's Lighthouse Night Shift. And it's right in the waves, in the depths of the multi-layers of consciousness. And the multi-layers of consciousness. So let's start off with the ascendant. So the ascendant here is, right here, and it is 29-degree Scorpio. So what I'm thinking about immediately is the ending of one cycle and beginning a new. But what I'm honestly thinking in my head is the awareness of self within, integrating it out within the world. So that's growing your relationship to yourself through the relationships, through the jobs, through the people, through the inheritance, through the memories, through the shared values, gaining the awareness to self. And that also will look like looking at a lot of deep, hidden memories, deep, hidden secrets within oneself, but within one's lineage, one's history, one's values. And sometimes when we're at this last stage before we step into a new, there are lessons to make sure that we are in flow with ourselves, but that we are really who we say we are. We're really trying the values, the foundations, the awarenesses that we learned on the way, but that we previously had because of our predecessors. And you're like, girl, what is predecessors? Per the last video, per any of my astrological videos on the beautiful YouTube channel, predecessors are our grandparents, our caregivers, our moms, our dads, our parents, our communities that we were a part of, our foundational wisdom that we attained when we were children. That moment when I like to call it our sponge age, our age when we're so observant, we're taking in all the unseen. So that's subconscious things. So maybe the habits that our parents drink. So maybe if they drink 6 bottles of water a day, you two be like, yeah, I'll just unconsciously drink 6 bottles of water a day. So these are reviewing all these aspects and seeing all the memories and all the memories to the memories and all the subunits. All the subunits. But that also means we need to always be reminded of the inner power within, the inner awakenings within, the inner worlds within. The inner worlds within. That's really allowing us to, one, put the practical uses as in our habits, our day-to-day lives, our day-to-day schedules, within our needs, whether that is emotional needs, so fulfillment, nourishing, recognition, upliftment, love, financial needs, your bills paid on time. We got money in our pockets, you feel me? We got food in the refrigerator. We have money for when things happen. We have the resources that we need. We have the accessibilities that we need. Whether that is health, whether that is food, whether that is clothes and safety, whether that's clean water, clean air, clean nutrients. And that's constantly being aware of the cyclical changes that goes on. The cyclical changes. To know that we're ever growing, we're ever developing, we're ever deepening. We're ever deepening. So when we go through lessons like this, know that this is a step up. Internal step up. You feel me? Heart step up, soul step up. But also in the physical sense, step up. This is allowing us to grow our individuality and our independence regarding our individuality. But I'm stepping too far up front. I'm stepping my feet too far. So before we're able to step, we have to realize, we have to be aware of our own perceptions regarding our own lives and the components that shape each of us through our individualized viewpoint. That's cultural viewpoint. That is whatever community you have and the resources that you have in your community is different. Mindsets are different. Relationships are different. Ways of nurturing are different. Especially if you look at it from the micro sense, in Chicago, you can see that Chicagoans all have one similar aspect. We might talk the same. We might all talk fast. We might all have the similar likes. But if you get into little communities, you feel me? Some people might like hot crunchy curls and some people might like spicy Doritos. Some communities might not have the sour cream Lay's potato chips. In some communities, you got the green onions. You feel me? Like, it's the different likes and dislikes. And that's the being aware to other people's, yours. Your very redefining aspect of who you are, of who you are growing into. But that's also, you feel me, looking at our lineage, the foundations, the structures, the ambitions, their spiritual development, their leadership qualities, their ability to lead. All of this is being reviewed. And I almost took my glasses off because it was the changing of perspectives. But before we can change perspectives, we have to be secure and strong and resilient and have trust within ourselves, within our own caveats, our own understandings, and be open to the transformations that are constantly going on to allow us, our soul, our heart, our mind, who we are, to grow and to develop to a higher sense. We got to understand that everyone is going to see that differently. You might see it as you are going and graduating and becoming a doctor, so now you can help people. But also some people might say like, oh, now I have this new layer of power. How can I use it to my benefit? But is it going to assist and help other people? Is it going to assist and help other people? But let's get into this message. So we briefly talked about the ascendant. And with the ascendant, I really want to showcase just one aspect, and to read further into it. The astrological notes have been posted on the Playful platform of Patreon over on the Memory Astrologer side. So be sure to read them. And please be sure to let me know how you feel about them and your notes and your understandings regarding them. So since we already talked about a little bit of the ascendant, let's find who rules the ascendant. So first things first, this is Scorpio 29. So we're looking at Pluto and Mars. Pluto is where? Pluto is in Capricorn. And if we watch the Pluto retrograde video on YouTube, it can really go more and go in depth regarding the Pluto retrograde, especially regarding Capricorn. But since we see it is in the second house of this chart, we have an overall understanding that there is something going within the background components. The background components. You're like, girl, what is a background component? A background component is the values of one's, the personal values. What is a personal value to you? That could be self-confidence. That's the tangible and luxurious things that one has. That could be the money that one has. That could be the talents that one has. That could be the power that one has because of these luxuries, because of these tangible items, because of these worths. Because of these worth. And we see that the second house has a lot to do with the components of defining, like growing awareness. So here we know that our awareness, Pluto, is being changed subconsciously, and it's going through I heard in my head regeneration. And regeneration is a wonderful aspect, but we have to really see that things have to crumble so that something else can come up, new, better, that can assist the transformation of one's cyclical emotions, one's cyclical needs. One's cyclical needs. And we see that since it's going in the second house, that the second house is very imperative regarding this chart. And since we also are finding the other ruler of Pluto, of Scorpio, I've also delineated it. See, Pluto has a little blue star, and Mars too has a blue star, and it is in the fourth house, I believe. So we see that Pluto is in front of the Saturn retrograde, and we see that Mars is a house behind the Saturn retrograde. So I just want us to think about this for a second. And I have some notes regarding this. Seeing that Mars is in the fourth house, and Mars is our will to initiate, our ego, our force, our movement. And since it's in the fourth house, we might be redefining our nurturing to our ability to move. That's really asking you, how can you fill your own cup? What have you seen about filling your own cup? And since this house, since Mars is in Aries, and it's in the fourth house, and Pluto's in Capricorn, and it is in the second house, we're gonna call these two houses second and fourth, areas that are highlighted. And since they're highlighted, with Saturn sitting directly between the heat of these two houses, it is asking us individually and personally, communally, to take a look at the long haul of these areas regarding our own awareness to ourselves, regarding our awareness to creating and building foundations, nurturing privacy. It's asking us to look at it as I almost want to say primitive understanding, but from an understanding that we once had. So maybe I want us to look back from March 2020, our understandings. And then how has your understanding changed to now? June 5th, 2022. So since we have an overall understanding of that, let's really hop into the Saturn in retrograde video. So Saturn is sitting in Pisces in the 3rd house. So here, what I'm ultimately thinking about is reviewing harmony within the mind, like within compartmentalization. And here, our Savior is going to be building a budget, whether that budget is for not overspending because it's opposition, Saturn is opposition the moon. Whether that budgeting is over-relating or over-compensating because Saturn is opposition in the moon. Whether that is ignoring or being fixed in the ways in our needs. Is that hindering or is that nurturing us? And right now we need to be at the very moment of nurturing us, of nurturing ourselves. Because our layers of growth and development regarding our own conscious development, regarding our own emotional development, regarding our own community fulfillment and connectability, engagement, harmony, we need to first turn to center, first turn to self, turn internal. We need to really review our own definition, cultural definitions regarding development, and really ask ourselves, how can this best grow? Allow me to grow into the individual who I am destined to be. And this is a lot of times we're looking at our own development, our own understandings, our own ways of relating to people, our own ways of relating to ourselves, our own viewpoints regarding leadership of individuality, leadership of independence, cultural independence, community independence, group independence. What does it look like to have trust within yourself, within your own beliefs, within your own foundations, and to stand strong on them? What does it look like? That's a whole lot of hope, a whole lot of trust and faith, and a whole lot of lessons that had to be learned to be able to grow with your legs standing strong and your back standing straight. and with your back standing straight. We are growing our awareness to our inner will, our inner motives and desires. And we need to be aware that our desires change. But also we can always review them and review who we once were, who our ancestors once were, who our parents once were, our own history, legacy that has been left from our predecessors, that has been left from our environmental history, that has been left from our community and earth history, that has been left from the legislative history, that is left because of the oral history. And now is our time to regain our awareness of ourselves, of our history, of our leadership, and ask ourselves, what is a good leader? How can I become a better leader? We are leaders to lead, to guide others, whether that is be our family, whether that is be ourselves, whether that be a teacher, whether that be a pastor, whether that be a crossing guard, whether that be helping the elderly, whether that be a dog walker, whether that be nurturing children, nurturing your inner child, whatever that may be. Our motives and our actions, our behaviors, our developments are being under review. And it is up for us to become better leaders for the future generations, but to become better leaders for ourselves, to gain that awareness within the internal leader and authoritative that we all are. And to look at it wholesomely. That means looking at our parents wholesomely. Our karma wholesomely. Our time wholesomely. Saturn is universal time. And even Saturn was trying to hold. Even Cronus was trying to hold time. But we have to grow with time. We have to acknowledge the cyclical changes and to be open to growing it. Be open to growing your inner sensual identity, your inner authoritative, your inner creative. Be open to how you communicate it. Be open to how we communicate it. Some relevant dates: July 3rd, 2022, August 1st, 2022, January 15th, 2023. Some prescriptions for this Saturn in retrograde. We might be hesitant within the mind, within our emotions, or rigid. Please stretch. Please be mindful of the engagement that we're doing, the catharsis of the engagement that we are doing. And be mindful of our arteries and our heart and what we're eating. Heart health is very important. So how can we be more in flow with growing our awareness to receptivity? Be aware of that. So be open to how people are presenting themselves, being open to flowing with the universe, flowing with the messages that are presented with us. So maybe we might be hearing some music. Give me a second. Let me really be able to say this. Sextile, what's this? Yes, there it goes. Music, communication, and like environmental communication is really going to be picking up. The environment is really going to be communicating with us. So that could be birds, that could be, you might be seeing patches in your grass, and like, something is going on here. Not grass, maybe trees. You can see probably you'll be more aware to see things that wasn't really open or privy for you to see. And this is like growing your relationship to the universe, to the universal laws and wisdom, but also growing your awareness to the environmental conversations, the messages that show up in environments, outside environments, when you're sitting in nature, when you're driving down the street, when that song is playing, what music is going on, what is it signaling to your senses, what is signaling to you. And this is a really trusting and growing our own intuition, trusting and growing our own self-confidence, trusting and growing our own self-governance, governance of self, our emotions, how we react, our behaviors. There's a whole lot of messages coming into the head, and I would do some deep breaths to calm it down, but to write it. I would write it down. The messages come quickly, and we might forget them, or we might just say, there's nothing. Write it down. Write it down. Write it down. Write it down. And I have just an oracle reading. So the first one that I wanted to share is that when I was pre-shuffling, just to set the cards together for the Saturn retrograde reading, the card Trust fell out. And I said, oh, that's very apropos, because that is a lesson that we are learning. That is an external lesson that we are learning. That is an internal lesson that we are growing. And here we see that there is a person, and the person is sitting in an abyss. But the abyss it looks like one of those little lava lamps, and it's constantly morphing and transforming into different shapes. But here the person looks like it's in the middle, so maybe it's being open to realizing the wonder of what's going on around. But also, since it looks like it has this peaceful pink background, it makes you think of Libra, and then it makes you think of my body, and being open to the communication that's going on in the body and the stomach and the breast. So how can we be more open to trust ourselves? What trusting relationship activities can you implement to grow your relationship to yourself? But maybe if the relationships they're in, what are the relationships presenting to us regarding trust? What first definition of trust do you have, and how has your trust been redefined over the years? Trust a lot of times look like having patience. And that is something that we're all continuously growing. Patience is something that I know I'm continuously growing. So let's see, what is the oracle message for the Saturn retrograde? Okay, so these cards fell out, and I'm gonna read them. Oh, I like this. Wow, I really like this. So the 3 cards that fell out was ground, recognize, and activate, and they were all upright. So first things first, the message, the name of the video is called, for the Saturn retrograde, The Watchtower's Lighthouse Night Shift, riding the waves in the depths of the multi-levels of consciousness. The first card is literally a little person who is ground. He's underground. It's this one light, and this area of light is shining, is glistening in the hole that the person is in. And the person really can't see a lot. So although the person can only see the illuminating light coming in from wherever the person has fell, the person might feel lost, might feel almost said abandoned, might feel cold and alone. But at the ground level, one is able to prepare steps that will lead towards the light. Whether that light is divinity, whether that light is creative passions, creative awareness, imagination, the creative source within, or whether that light is shining onto a new aspects that lead to another room. But right now, what we are learning and what we are growing is the facet of grounding. Whether that is grounding by realizing universal laws and universal cause and effect, or whether that is growing the patience and the trust to the inner awareness and inner depths of oneself, of one's history, of one's surroundings, The next card was recognize. So after the darkness comes the light. It allows us to be able to see things with our eyes, to be able to, we were internalizing because we weren't really seeing things, we were internalizing. But now, since there's clarity, we are able to see. And what things are brought to light, sometimes it's not what we usually thought it was. But here we're able to recognize, we're able to review what it really is and ask ourselves, are these things useful? And how useful is it? That could be memories, that could be people, that could be situations, that could be challenges and obstacles that were previously overcame. And now we're realizing and recognizing the tools within our toolbox. But how can you use what's available to you for where you need to go? For where you need to go. And that's really asking us a lot of times to activate, to be aware, to find the inner courage, the inner power within our own selves. And this is calling and mustering the strength. But for us to be able to call and muster some strength, we got to know some people that's strong, right? This is 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got to know some people that's strong, right? So this is looking at our habits. Are our habits strong? Are they making us strong? This is looking at our community. What aspects of our community is strong? Or what aspects of our community needs help to be stronger? This is looking at family values, family secrets, family continuous. How did the family continuously grow, continuously get the resources? How did the family continue? The legacy continue? How can you continue the legacy? And this is a whole lot of activate. This is a whole lot of stand up and stand tall. This is a whole lot of recognizing oneself and recognizing the holes within one's armor. And that's okay. Because we wasn't given the whole layout. We wasn't given the guidebook, but that's saying, but we was left some messages. We was left some messages. So how we gonna use it for where we going? How we gonna use it for mustering the courage to connect, to grow, to rebuild our systems, our families, our units, our environments for the better. And that's a whole lot of liberation. That's a whole lot of survival. And I would honestly watch the Uranus retrograde, Uranus direct video. Survival. How can you use these lessons for survival? How did these situations and these systems survive? Back of the deck, pause. This is our moment to just be, to be still, to look at the wonder and the passion and the magic within and without, and to see the interconnectedness, the intertwined, the relating, the relatability of it all. And use it as reflectors to ask and to see what's reflecting back to you. Prescriptions. Hesitating in sharing, voicing needs, concerns. We should practice communicating with self and then expanding with others. Be mindful of our emotions and our ability of reactions. Be open to the thoughts, the emotions, and the thoughts that accompany them. Take a deeper time to realize, to relate, to understand what is it really showcasing, what is it really sharing. All right, you all. Have a wonderful Saturn retrograde, and remember to read the astrological notes on the Playful platform of Patreon on the Memory Astrologer side.